The rain hammered down on the mountain road like bullets against steel, turning the asphalt into a black river. Jack Miller's headlights cut through sheets of water, illuminating nothing but darkness until suddenly, a figure emerged. A woman in white, running barefoot, her dress torn and muddy, her face twisted in terror. Jack slammed on the brakes, the truck skidding dangerously before stopping just feet from her. He threw open the door, rain soaking through his shirt. "Are you okay?" he shouted over the storm. She stared at him with wild, desperate eyes, mascara streaming down her cheeks. "Please," she gasped. "Don't take me back there." Lightning flashed across the sky, and in that moment, Jack saw it clearly. She was wearing a wedding dress. Dawn broke slowly over the small town near Seattle, weak sunlight struggling through storm clouds. Jack Miller had been awake since 5:30, moving through his modest house with practiced silence. At 35, his life had settled into routines that felt more like surviving than living. But he'd made peace with that. The kitchen was small but clean, everything in its place. A single photograph on the refrigerator showed him, his daughter Lily, and his late wife Sarah on a beach, smiling like happiness would last forever. That photo was 5 years old. Sarah had died 3 months after it was taken. Jack cracked eggs into a pan, and moments later heard small footsteps on the stairs. Lily appeared in the doorway, 8 years old with tangled brown hair and her mother's warm eyes. She looked so much like Sarah that it sometimes hurt Jack to look at her. "Morning, sweetheart," he said, sliding eggs onto a plate. "Can we listen to the radio?" Jack nodded, turning on the old transistor. Static crackled before a voice emerged. "Breaking news this morning. The wedding of billionaire heiress Evelyn Grace to real estate magnate Alexander Pierce was canceled yesterday when the bride disappeared hours before the ceremony. Both families are offering a substantial reward for information regarding her whereabouts." Jack barely registered the words. The lives of billionaires had nothing to do with him. He'd learned that lesson 5 years ago when Sarah died in a car accident caused by faulty brakes. The manufacturer, a subsidiary of a massive conglomerate, had known about the defect for months, but chose profits over lives. They'd buried evidence and walked away clean while Jack buried his wife. He'd been an aerospace engineer then, believing the system worked. Sarah's death shattered that belief. He quit, moved to this quiet town, and rebuilt his life around the only thing that mattered: his daughter. After dropping Lily at school, Jack drove through town. Past the diner, past the hardware store, past the white church. This was his world now, small and safe. He spent the afternoon at his garage, hands black with grease. As evening approached and storm clouds gathered, he picked up Lily and took the mountain road home. A shortcut most people avoided after dark. That's where he saw her. The woman stood shivering in Jack's living room, dripping rainwater onto worn floors. Up close, she looked nothing like the polished heiress from the news. Her wedding dress was torn and filthy, her feet bleeding, her face scratched. Her eyes held the kind of terror Jack recognized from the mirror after identifying Sarah's body. "I'm sorry," she whispered. "I saw your headlights, and I just ran." Jack grabbed a towel. "You need to tell me what's happening. Should I call the police?" She flinched. "No. Please, no police. I just need somewhere to stay tonight." Before Jack could respond, Lily appeared on the stairs in her nightgown, eyes wide. "Daddy, is she a princess?" The woman looked at Lily, and something in her expression cracked. "I was supposed to be," she said softly. "But I ran away." Lily smiled with childlike understanding. Like Cinderella, except running away from the prince. Jack sighed, recognizing defeat. "Sit down. I'll get the first aid kit." As he cleaned her feet, Jack noticed details. The expensive manicure, the 7-carat diamond ring, the trembling hands. This wasn't cold feet. This was genuine fear. "What's your name?" Lily asked. "Evelyn," the woman said after hesitation. "I'm Lily. This is my dad, Jack. We live here just us. Because my mom died when I was 3. Evelyn's eyes found Jack's. I'm very sorry. That must be incredibly hard. Lily nodded, then suddenly ran upstairs. She returned with a faded blue cardigan. You can wear this. My mom used to wear it when she was sad. Evelyn took the sweater with shaking hands, slipping it on. Thank you. Your mother must have been very special. She was, Lily agreed. Daddy says she's watching over us from heaven. Maybe she sent you to us because you needed help. Jack felt his throat tighten. His daughter's compassion amazed and terrified him. It's late, he said. Lily, bed. We can talk in the morning. After tucking his daughter in, Jack found Evelyn by the window, staring at the rain. You can sleep on the couch, he said. But tomorrow, you tell me the truth. All of it. Evelyn nodded. Thank you. You have no idea what this means. But Jack had a sinking feeling he was about to find out exactly what it meant to shelter a runaway bride, and that the cost might be higher than he could afford. Morning arrived with weak sunlight. Jack woke to the smell of coffee, which was strange because he always made it. He found Evelyn at his kitchen table in borrowed clothes, her face scrubbed clean. Without makeup, she looked younger and more vulnerable. I hope you don't mind, she said. I couldn't sleep. Jack poured coffee and turned on the television. The news was running the story, Evelyn's face filling the screen at some charity gala. Billionaire heiress Evelyn Grace remains missing. Her fiancé, Alexander Pierce, made an emotional appeal, offering $1 million for any information leading to her return. The camera showed a handsome man with ice blue eyes. Evelyn, if you're watching, please come home. I love you. Everyone's worried. Jack muted it. That's him? The man you were supposed to marry? She nodded, pale. He doesn't love me. It was always about merging our family's companies. I was just part of the deal. Then why agree at all? Why not call it off weeks ago? Evelyn's hands trembled. Because I thought I could make it work. But I didn't know the truth until yesterday morning. 2 hours before the ceremony, I heard him on the phone talking about cutting corners on building codes, bribing inspectors. Her voice dropped. He said, if she ever finds out and tries to talk, we'll deal with her the same way we dealt with the last problem, permanently. The room felt colder. Jack thought about Sarah. Did you get proof? Evelyn pulled out a small USB drive. I grabbed his laptop. I copied everything. Financial records, communications, files going back years. But what I saw was enough to know I'd be trapped once we married. If I became a liability, I'd just disappear. Jack stared at the drive. You should go to the FBI. Alexander's father has connections everywhere. Judges, politicians, law enforcement. By the time anyone took me seriously, I'd be dead or committed. Jack wanted to argue, but couldn't. He'd seen how money buried truth. So what's your plan? I need a few days to organize the evidence so it can't be buried. Then I'll turn myself in on my terms. Jack looked at this stranger and saw his own reflection. Someone wounded by the powerful, fighting for justice. 3 days. But if anyone comes asking, I'm not lying. I won't risk my daughter. Relief washed over her face. 3 days, thank you. But as she left with the USB drive, Jack felt regret settling in. Somewhere, a billionaire was mobilizing an empire to find his bride. And Jack had just made himself an obstacle. The day passed in uneasy routine. Jack worked at his garage, while Evelyn stayed hidden. When he returned that evening, he found her at his kitchen table with his laptop. Documents scattered everywhere. Dark circles under her eyes suggested she hadn't moved in hours. What did you find? Evelyn looked up, devastation in her eyes. It's worse than I thought. Offshore accounts, money laundering through dozens of shell companies, connections to organized crime. They've been doing this for decades. She opened a folder. But this is the worst part. She turned the laptop. A list of companies, one highlighted in yellow. Meridian Aerospace Components. Jack's vision blurred. That's the company that made the brakes that killed my wife. Evelyn nodded, tears streaming. Alexander's father acquired them 6 years ago. According to these memos, they knew about the brake defects 8 months before your wife's accident. They chose to keep selling them because a recall would cost them their quarterly profits. The room tilted. Jack gripped the table. For 5 years, he'd known abstractly that some corporation killed Sarah, but seeing the proof made it real. They paid off investigators, Evelyn continued. Buried complaints, settled lawsuits with non-disclosure agreements. Your wife wasn't the first. She showed him a spreadsheet. There were 17 deaths, 17 families destroyed, and they knew the entire time. Jack's hands shook. Why are you showing me this? Because you deserve the truth, and because you need to understand what I'm running from. These people kill to protect their empire. My father's name is on these documents too. He knew everything. She closed the laptop. I thought I was just avoiding a bad marriage. I didn't realize I was about to become part of a criminal organization. Lily's voice interrupted them. Daddy, why are you crying? Jack hadn't realized tears were streaming down his face. Lily wrapped her arms around him. It's okay to be sad about Mommy. Evelyn watched with something breaking across her face, seeing genuine love she'd never experienced. I'm so sorry, she whispered. I'm sorry my family did this to you. Jack looked at her. We're both sorry. But sorry doesn't fix anything. Maybe justice does, Evelyn said. Even if it comes too late. That night, they sat by the fireplace, the USB drive on the coffee table between them. What will you do? Evelyn asked. When this becomes public? I don't know. For 5 years I've lived in limbo. Now there's proof. But what does justice look like? They'll pay fines. Maybe some executives do minimum time. And Sarah stays dead. Maybe justice is making sure it doesn't happen to 17 more families, Evelyn said. Before Jack could respond, sound outside froze them. Multiple engines on his private road. Jack jumped up, dousing the fire. Through the window, he saw vehicles approaching. The vehicles stopped beyond his property line, headlights illuminating his house. Jack counted 3 black SUVs, his heart hammered. Get Lily, he whispered to Evelyn. Basement. There's a root cellar behind the old furnace, hidden behind shelving. Take her there and don't make a sound. Evelyn ran upstairs. Jack watched the vehicles. Nobody moved yet. They were waiting, watching. He had maybe 2 minutes before they approached. The basement door closed. Jack waited until he heard shelving scrape before focusing on the windows. Time slowed. He could hear his breathing, his pulse pounding. Outside, car doors opened. 7 men emerged in expensive suits, moving with professional efficiency. Private security. The lead man approached. Footsteps deliberate on the porch. Jack waited for the knock before turning on the light and opening the door. The man looked ex-military, built like a boxer with cold eyes. Evening, he said pleasantly. Sorry to bother you late. We're looking for someone. Mind if we ask questions? Jack kept his posture relaxed. Little late, isn't it? What's this about? The man showed a photo. Evelyn at some gala. This woman went missing yesterday. Her family's worried. The last cell signal pinged 5 miles from here. You see anyone matching this description? Saw the news, Jack said. Terrible thing. But no. Haven't seen her. Don't get many people out here. The man's eyes scanned past Jack. You live alone? Me and my daughter. Wife passed years back. Look, if I see anything, I'll call. But I need sleep. He started closing the door, but the man's hand caught it. The pleasant expression remained, but his voice hardened. Mind if we look around? Miss Grace's fiancé is offering $1 million. That's life-changing money for someone like you. The condescension made Jack's jaw clench. I know my rights. You're not police, no warrant, and you're not coming in. Now get your hand off my door. They stared at each other. Jack was certain it would turn violent. Then the man smiled and stepped back. Of course. Sorry for the intrusion. He handed Jack a card with only a phone number. If you see anything, call directly. Mr. Pierce is very eager to have his fiancée returned safely. Jack closed the door and waited, watching taillights disappear. They'd be back. That visit was reconnaissance. He'd bought time, but not much. He waited 30 minutes before heading to the basement. He found Evelyn and Lily huddled in the root cellar. "They're gone," Jack said. "For now. They'll be back," Evelyn stated. "Yeah," Jack agreed. "You can't stay here. They're watching now. Next time they won't knock." He thought quickly. His friend Marcus, a state cop, lived 80 miles north, near the Canadian border. "Pack light. We leave in an hour." Lily spoke up. "Daddy, are we going on an adventure?" Jack knelt down. "Something like that. Sweetheart, remember how sometimes good people have to help others, even when it's hard? We're doing that now. But you need to be brave and quiet, okay?" "I can be brave like Mommy," Lily said. Jack's heart clenched. She was the bravest person I knew. As they prepared, Jack looked around his home. This sanctuary he'd built, everything he'd tried to create, was crumbling. But this time, he had a chance to fight back. They left at 3 in the morning through the woods, avoiding the main road. Jack had thrown supplies into his truck, along with the USB drive Evelyn guarded. Lily sat between them, clutching her stuffed rabbit, forcing her eyes open despite exhaustion. The truck's headlights carved through darkness as they climbed into mountains, following old logging roads. They'd gone 30 miles when trouble struck. A grinding sound from the engine, followed by a shudder. Jack cursed, pulling over. "Transmission's going," he said, popping the hood. "I've been meaning to fix it." Perfect timing. He grabbed his flashlight. Evelyn followed him out. "Can you fix it?" "Maybe. Need to bypass the coolant line. Jury-rig the transmission pump. But I need tools I don't have." He looked at her. "Or I can teach you." For 45 minutes by flashlight, Jack guided Evelyn through emergency repairs. She didn't complain about grease coating her hands or the cold wind. She listened and did exactly what he said. "There," Jack finally said. "That should get us there. Won't win races, but it'll move." Evelyn looked at her oil-stained hands and suddenly laughed. Not politely, but genuinely. "What?" Jack asked, smiling despite everything. "I'm on a mountain in the middle of the night, covered in motor oil, running from people who want to kill me," she said. 3 days ago, I was planning a $10 million wedding, and somehow, this is the most real I've felt in years." Jack understood completely. There was strange freedom in having everything stripped away. "Come on. We've got 40 miles left." They climbed back in, Lily now truly asleep against Evelyn's shoulder. As Jack navigated rough terrain, Evelyn spoke quietly. "Tell me about your wife." Jack was silent so long she thought he wouldn't answer. But then he started. "Sarah was a teacher. 2nd grade. She loved the kids, loved watching them figure out the world. She was patient in a way I never could be." He paused. "We met in college. She thought I was arrogant. Told me so to my face. Turned out she was right. But she saw something worth saving underneath." "She sounds wonderful," Evelyn said. "She was. She would have liked you." Actually, Sarah had a soft spot for people trying to do the right thing, even when it cost them. Evelyn looked at Lily. "I never had this. Family dinners, bedtime stories, unconditional love. My childhood was boarding schools and lessons in deportment. I was groomed to marry well. Love was never part of the equation. Is that why you agreed to marry Alexander?" "Partially. But also because I thought maybe I could make it work. Then I heard him on that phone call and realized I'd been lying to myself." They drove in silence. Dawn was breaking when they reached Marcus's cabin. Jack's friend emerged with a rifle, then lowered it, recognizing the truck. "Jack? What the hell are you doing here?" Jack climbed out stiffly. "Need a favor, Marcus." "A big one." As Evelyn emerged with Lily, Marcus's eyes widened. "Is that the runaway bride?" "Jack, what have you gotten into?" Marcus listened to everything inside his cabin, his face growing graver. He examined the USB drive like it was a loaded gun. "This is federal level," he said finally. "RICO charges, money laundering, maybe manslaughter for those brake defects. But you're right about Pierce connections. I've heard rumors for years, but nobody's ever made anything stick." He turned to Evelyn. "You understand what you're getting into? Once you turn this over, your old life is gone. Everything. Your family, your inheritance, your name. The Pierces will come after you with everything." "I know," Evelyn said steadily. "I've known since I ran. I'm not going back. And you?" Marcus looked at Jack. "You're already in this deep. Those men at your house, they'll figure out you helped her. Best case, they sue you for everything. Worst case," he didn't finish. Jack looked at Lily exploring the cabin. "He wouldn't teach her that you watch injustice and do nothing." "I'm already in. Might as well see it through." Marcus nodded. "I've got an FBI contact I trust. But it'll take time to set up a secure meet. These people will be monitoring federal buildings. We need to do this smart." "How long?" 2. Maybe 3 days. I'll make the call subtly. Any hint something's happening, and they'll move money, destroy evidence. Meanwhile, you stay here. Don't call anyone. Don't contact anyone." Those 2 days passed in strange domesticity. Marcus gave them both bedrooms, taking the couch himself. Lily loved the adventure, exploring woods and collecting pine cones. She seemed to understand something serious was happening, but found joy in small moments. Jack spent hours organizing evidence with Evelyn, building a timeline of decades of corruption. And slowly, something shifted between them. Small things. Evelyn teaching Lily to braid hair. Jack making coffee exactly how Evelyn liked it. Without asking, conversations stretching late into night about dreams and regrets. One evening, Jack found Evelyn on the porch wrapped in a blanket, watching sunset paint mountains gold and purple. He joined her with coffee. "I've been thinking about what comes after," Evelyn said. "When this is over, I don't know who I am if I'm not Evelyn Grace, billionaire heiress. That's been my entire identity." "Maybe that's not bad," Jack offered. "Getting to figure out who you are when all the noise is stripped away. Is that what you did after Sarah died?" "Not intentionally. But yeah, had to rebuild from scratch. Figure out what mattered when everything else was gone. Turned out it was simpler than I thought. Being a good father. Being honest. Helping when you can." Evelyn leaned her head against his shoulder, natural and surprising. "I think I'd like to try that. The simple life." "It's not as simple as it looks," Jack warned, smiling. "Broken transmissions, small-town gossip, bills whether you're ready or not. Different from what you're used to." "Good," Evelyn said. "I want to earn things. Build something real." That night, Marcus cornered Jack. "You're falling for her." Jack couldn't lie. "Maybe. Probably. Is that stupid?" "Probably," Marcus agreed. "But I've seen you these past days. You're different. Lighter. More like the guy before Sarah died. And Lily's taken to Evelyn like she's always been family." "It's complicated," Jack said. "She's running from a billionaire wedding. I'm a small-town mechanic with a kid. Her world's about to explode. This isn't the time for romance." "Life doesn't wait for the right time," Marcus said. "Sarah didn't wait for you to have everything figured out. Sometimes you just take the leap." But Jack wasn't sure he knew how to leap anymore. He'd spent 5 years building walls. The next morning, everything changed. Marcus's FBI contact called back. They had a secure location ready, a federal courthouse 90 miles away with security and agents waiting. It was time. As they prepared to leave, Jack found Evelyn in the bathroom mirror, wearing the nicest clothes they could find. Her hair pulled back severely. She looked nothing like the heiress from photos. "You don't have to do this," Jack said, though they both knew that was a lie. "Yes, I do," Evelyn said. She turned, fear in her eyes. "Jack, if something happens, if they get to me before I testify, Promise you'll make sure that drive reaches the right people. Promise Sarah and those others won't have died for nothing. Nothing's going to happen, Jack said firmly. We're doing this right, together. You'll testify, they'll prosecute, and justice will actually win. She looked at him. How did you stay so good? After everything they took, how do you still believe in justice? Because the alternative is letting them win, Jack said. And I won't do that. Evelyn kissed him then, soft and desperate and full of unspoken words. When they broke apart, she was crying but also smiling. Okay, she said. Let's go save the world. The federal courthouse sat like a granite fortress in the city center. Marcus had arranged everything carefully. They'd drive straight into underground parking where FBI agents would escort Evelyn inside immediately. No press, no spectacle, just a quiet handover of evidence that could topple empires. But approaching the city limits, Jack felt wrongness crawling up his spine. The streets were too quiet for a Tuesday morning. Marcus, he started. His friend was already on the radio. Something's wrong. I'm getting chatter about an incident at the courthouse. Bomb threat. They're evacuating. Before anyone could process that, a black SUV appeared behind them, then another alongside, boxing them in. They found us, Evelyn whispered. How? Doesn't matter. Marcus snapped, drawing his weapon. Jack, take the next right. Head for the industrial district. Lose them in the warehouses. Jack yanked the wheel hard. The truck careened down a side street, SUVs following, through narrow streets, over railroad tracks, past startled pedestrians. Lily was crying now, terrified. Evelyn wrapped her arms around the girl protectively. I'm sorry, Evelyn kept saying. I'm so sorry. I never should have brought you into this. Not your fault, Jack ground out. These people made their choices long before you ran. One SUV pulled alongside. Jack saw the window rolling down, the gun emerging. He swerved hard, using the truck's bulk to slam the SUV into a parked car, but two more remained behind. Marcus was on the radio shouting coordinates, calling backup. Suddenly they were cutting through a park, tearing up grass. Evelyn spotted a narrow service road. There. Jack took it. The SUVs couldn't follow. Too wide for the barriers. They'd bought seconds. Jack used them, finally pulling into an abandoned warehouse. Everybody out. We go on foot. The warehouse was a maze of boxes and equipment. Marcus took point, weapon drawn. They'd made it halfway through when Alexander Pierce stepped out from behind pallets. 6 armed men flanked him. In dim light, Alexander was smiling. Evelyn, he said pleasantly, you've caused quite a lot of trouble. I'm disappointed. The understanding was, you'd murder me eventually. Evelyn shot back. I heard everything, Alexander. His smile never wavered, and yet you have no proof. That USB drive you're protecting? We've been tracking it since you left. We wanted to see how far this rebellion went. Who else was involved? He gestured casually. Now we know. The mechanic, his daughter, a corrupt cop. It's quite tidy. A tragic accident. Everyone dies. Evidence disappears. Marcus raised his weapon. I've already transmitted everything to my contact. The investigation started. Has it? Alexander showed his phone. A news feed. Terrible computer virus at the FBI field office this morning. Lost weeks of data. And your contact? Being investigated for corruption. He won't help you. Jack felt everything collapsing. These people had thought of everything. But he'd spent 5 years thinking about justice. And he'd learned something. Powerful people all had the same weakness. Arrogance. You're right, Jack said, stepping forward. You've won. But before you kill us, can I ask something? How many people have you destroyed? How many Sarah Millers? Alexander's smile turned cold. I don't know their names. They were irrelevant. They were people, Jack said. They mattered. And that's why you've already lost. He pulled out the USB drive. "This drive you tracked? It's blank. We figured you'd have monitoring software. Yesterday, we sent the real data to 3 different news organizations with timed releases." He checked his watch. 10 minutes ago, every major outlet started receiving files detailing decades of corruption. By now, it's hitting the internet. Millions of people are seeing it. Even your father can't bury that. The look on Alexander's face, sudden realization he'd been outmaneuvered, was almost worth everything. "Kill them," Alexander snarled. But the gunshots came from behind, as police SWAT teams poured in from every entrance. Marcus's backup had arrived. Alexander tried to run. He made it 15 feet before Jack tackled him. Years of rage fueling unexpected strength. They went down hard. Jack got in one punch before cops pulled him off. "That's for Sarah," Jack said, watching them cuff Alexander Pierce. "And for the 16 others. And for everyone else, your family destroyed." The aftermath was chaos. Police statements, federal agents, media trucks appearing from nowhere. The evidence Evelyn provided, distributed across multiple outlets simultaneously, proved impossible to suppress. Within hours, federal prosecutors were filing charges. Within a day, arrests were being made at the highest levels. Richard Grace and Marcus Pierce were taken into federal custody, along with dozens of executives. The scope was staggering once investigators started pulling threads. Over 40 years of corruption involving hundreds of millions of dollars. The brake defect scandal alone involved 17 companies across 7 countries. Alexander Pierce, facing multiple life sentences, tried desperately to make a deal. But prosecutors had everything from Evelyn's evidence. They didn't need him. Media coverage was overwhelming. Evelyn became the heiress who chose justice. Though she refused most interviews, she released one statement: "I only did what any decent person would do when confronted with evidence of crimes." The real heroes are the investigators and victims' families who never gave up demanding justice. Jack found himself in an uncomfortable spotlight he hadn't wanted. Reporters camped outside his house. He refused all interviews, just wanted his quiet life back. The company that made Sarah's defective brakes was forced into bankruptcy. Jack received a settlement he'd never wanted. He immediately placed it all in a trust for Lily's education. No money could bring Sarah back, but perhaps it could help build something better. Marcus was not only cleared but commended for his undercover work. 3 corrupt FBI agents were arrested. Evelyn's life changed completely. Her father awaited trial. Assets frozen. Her family name was now synonymous with corruption. She'd lost her inheritance, her social position, everything. And remarkably, she seemed grateful. With what little personal money remained, Evelyn started over. She rented a modest apartment in Jack's town, started therapy, took community college classes, and slowly, carefully, began building a real relationship with Jack and Lily based on choice, not crisis. They took things slow. Coffee dates while Lily was at school, family dinners where Evelyn learned to cook normal food, movie nights on Jack's worn couch, simple moments that felt more valuable than anything in her former life. 6 months after fleeing her wedding, Evelyn stood before a modest building with a wooden sign, Second Chances Community Center. Her project, offering free services to people rebuilding after corporate abuse. Job training, legal aid, counseling. Everything she'd never needed, but now understood was essential. Jack stood beside her at the opening. Lily between them, cutting a ribbon for local reporters. Not glamorous charity galas. This was real, small, important. That evening at their shared home, they sat on the porch watching sunset. Lily was inside, supposedly doing homework. "Do you ever regret it?" Jack asked quietly. "Running? Everything that happened after? You lost everything from your old life." Evelyn considered seriously. She'd spent months in therapy examining this exact question. She'd lost her family name, inheritance, social position. Her father would likely die in prison. She'd testified in multiple hearings and would for years to come. "No," she said with certainty. "I regret it took so long to see the truth. I regret people were hurt before I found courage. Those regrets will stay with me forever. She squeezed Jack's hand. But running? Choosing to leave that life? She gestured to the modest house, the quiet street. Running toward you and Lily? And this life? That's the best decision I ever made. Inside, they could hear Lily singing to herself about fractions, wildly off-key but full of joy. The girl had thrived, no longer just Jack's daughter but theirs in all the ways that mattered. She asked me something yesterday, Evelyn said softly. She asked if we were going to get married, and if I'd be her new mom officially. Jack's heart stuttered. They'd been careful not to rush despite the intensity of how they'd started. What did you tell her? The truth. That love doesn't require paper or ceremonies to be real. That family is people who choose to stand by you, who love you when things are hard, who help you become your best self. Evelyn looked at him, but I also told her that if her father ever asked me to marry him, my answer would be yes. Jack reached into his pocket, pulling out a small velvet box he'd carried for 3 weeks. Funny you should mention that. The ring inside wasn't a 7-carat monstrosity. It was a simple silver band with a small emerald, Sarah's birthstone. Evelyn had specifically requested something honoring the woman who'd made Jack who he was. I'm not rich, Jack said, opening the box. I can't give you the life you were born into. We'll struggle sometimes. Money will be tight. No private jets or designer clothes or fancy galas. Just ordinary life. Thank God, Evelyn laughed through tears. Jack Miller, are you asking me to marry you? Evelyn Hart, he said, using her new legal name. Will you take a chance on a simple, honest life with a mechanic and his daughter? She kissed him instead of answering, soft and sweet and full of promise. When they broke apart, she nodded. I already took that chance. That night in the rain, when I ran toward your truck instead of hiding, I was choosing a different life. Everything since has just been following through. He slipped the ring on her finger. It fit perfectly. Lily burst through the door, homework forgotten, eyes immediately finding the ring. Does this mean you're staying forever? She asked, her voice small and vulnerable. Evelyn knelt down, taking Lily's hands. Forever and ever. If you'll have me, I know I can't replace your mom, and I'd never try. But I love you so much. And I love your dad. And I want to be part of your family for the rest of my life. Lily threw her arms around Evelyn's neck. I knew you were magic. That first night in the wedding dress, I told Daddy you were special, but you're better than any princess, because you didn't need a prince to save you. You just needed us. And we needed you. That's exactly right, Jack said, gathering them both into his arms. We needed each other. A year later, the small town had embraced its unlikely celebrity. Evelyn's Second Chances Community Center had expanded to 2 locations, helping dozens of families. Jack's garage had more business than he could handle, and Lily, now 9, had grown into a confident, compassionate child who spoke passionately about justice. Jack and Evelyn had married quietly 6 months earlier, a simple courthouse ceremony with Marcus as best man and Lily as ring bearer. No photographers, no society columns, no expensive cake, just sincere vows and promises made to keep. The torn wedding dress from that first night, cleaned and preserved, hung in a glass case at the community center with a brass plaque. Freedom isn't running away from something. It's running toward what you're meant to be. People came from surprising distances to see it, this symbol of courage. Evelyn gave tours sometimes, telling her story simply, honestly. On the anniversary of the night they met, Jack and Evelyn returned to that mountain road where he'd first seen her running through the storm. They stood on the exact spot where everything changed. What if you'd just driven past? Evelyn asked, leaning against him. If you'd decided I was too much trouble? Jack considered that alternate timeline. I don't know. Maybe you'd have found help elsewhere. Maybe you'd have made it alone. You're stronger than you think. But I wouldn't have found you, Evelyn said, turning to face him. I wouldn't have found Lily. I wouldn't have found this life. She took his hands. I ran from a billionaire wedding into a mechanic's arms, and it was the best trade anyone ever made." "Best mistake you made," Jack teased. "No," Evelyn said firmly. "Not a mistake. A choice. Maybe it started as panic. But every day since has been a conscious choice. To stay. To love. To build something real." From their car, Lily called out, "Come on, you two. We're going to be late for dinner." They walked back hand in hand. This family built from impossible circumstances. As they drove away, Evelyn took one last look at where her old life ended and her real one began. No regret in her heart, only gratitude for the rainstorm, the desperate run through darkness, and the single father who chose compassion, who stopped to help a terrified stranger. Because that choice, that one moment of kindness in a dark night, had changed everything. Thunder rumbled in the distance, and light rain began falling, pattering against the windshield. Lily pointed at the clouds and laughed. "Look, it's raining again. Just like the night you two met." Evelyn reached across and took Jack's hand, feeling the simple silver ring on her finger. "Let it rain," she said softly, smiling. "I'm not running anymore. I'm exactly where I belong."